So it's number one is know your customer. Now, before you do any kind of email marketing, you have to know who you're writing to so you can make it feel like a personal letter to them, right? So they can read this and go, do they know me? How did they figure out, this is so. Anyway, so here's some things that you can ask yourself about your ideal customer before you go to build the email campaign. So the first thing is, it might be like, okay, so who's typically buying this stuff, And you can go with, demographics, psychographics, and stuff like that. But even just writing it out, like, middle-aged women or whatever. And then you can think about the wrong customer, right? Like, these are the people you don't want as customers. And just write something out for that. Figure out what your customer's ultimate goal is. And it might not even be connected to your product, but have you ever heard the saying, the benefit of the benefit? Like, even that is fascinating. Sometimes people think, oh, well, why do people buy this product? Well, maybe it's to make their hair look good. But why do they want their hair to look good? Well, so you'll get a date tonight, right? Like, that's the benefit of the benefit, right? So, and you think about the customer's enemy as well when you go to write copy. Now, the enemy may not be a human being. It might be CRA. The enemy might not be something real, but the point is that we have to think about that and what their hero is as well. So, if you write those things out, and then if you write down their biggest frustrations, the number one thing that, if you think about your target customer, and some people like Russell Brunson, for example, they'll actually write the name of the person. Like, I think he calls his Erica and John or something like that. But he has these two people that he writes out the exact profile of these people so that you can, write your stuff to that, fake ideal customer that you have written out. So their income level, the whole 9 yards, and what they like and dislike. As well as their desires, like the things that they absolutely love, and again, their greatest wish, that kind of stuff. So once we have that kind of stuff, figuring out all the other pieces I'm about to go into is so much easier because it all falls into place. So so that's that piece. The next piece is if you already have an email list and you just want to make some money from that list, the first thing that I like to do is called a launch survey. So some people call this a pre-launch. It's before you launch anything, you ask them two questions. Now, these are the most powerful open-ended questions you'll see. Number one is, what is your burning question about this topic? What's your number one thing you're curious about, concerned about, or whatever? And the second one is, if we were to have lunch together, what would you ask me? So this is really good for content marketing. You might have to tweak it a little bit if you're in a different market, but if you're not in information sales. Like if it were around real estate or investing or something, you might say, what's your biggest concern about investing money, whatever. So let me show you an example of how you can actually use this with a Google form. Google Forms are obviously completely free, and you can actually embed them in a website or a landing page, and they actually look pretty decent. Neat thing is there's also a plugin for MailChimp for this, and I think Aweber as well. So it's completely free to use it, and it can actually look pretty decent. So that's one I did for John DeLemy in New York. So the second way of kind of getting to know your customer, let's say you have no customers right now, no list whatsoever. This landing page was actually made by a guy named Ryan Levesque. And Ryan built this landing page using the ask formula. Now the ask formula is, let's give instead of giving like an ebook or something, let's give our list something really awesome, but in return let's get them to fill out a few survey questions for that thing. So instead of paying money, they just fill out their info. So, their name, what best describes you, or one of these groups or one of those groups. So the ask formula, if you have absolutely no list, you can actually figure out who they are and what they want as you build your email list. So obvious benefits, right? You know who they are and what they want. You can segment your funnel to say, okay, well, people who really like this stuff, will send them these answers. People who like these things, will send them these things. And, obviously, at the same time, you don't have to do the launch funnel survey at all. So survey funnel software, again, is one way you can do it. Paid software, I think that actually belongs to Ryan. Google Forms, you can do it for free. So if you literally are starting today, and today is the first time you're trying to build an email list, doing it this way is going to make it so that you can guarantee when you go to write your copy, you're going to build stuff people actually want. You're going to get engagement, all that kind of stuff. So the last part, of course, is that when you've learned all this stuff is to speak to your list personally. One of the most frustrating and challenging things you see, and you've probably received, everybody in this room has probably received email that you read it and you go, this is obviously marketing, right? And your brain just bypasses. It doesn't even allow you to get into, does this matter? Does this, is this important to me? Now imagine if they'd spend a few seconds imagining what your biggest challenge or pain or frustration really is. And imagine that they'd written the letter and said, hey, do you have this frustration? Do you want these benefits and results, right? And do you hate this guy like I do? Do you hate, this challenge like I do? Do you struggle and face this? Because if you do, well, then you have to pay attention to this. So, and the other thing too is like when you speak to your tribe and you're leading them somewhere, like that ultimate goal, that ultimate wish that, that every chiropractor, every electronics buyer, every person in this space wants or needs, obviously all the copy kind of flows in, just kind of works way better. So number 2 is teasing them into the tribe. So let's imagine we already know who our ideal target customer is. Let's talk about the ultimate way to get people on the list. And this is what I was getting all nerdy about with Matt. And it's like, talk nerdy to me, right? So this is the newest, hottest thing. Like there's hardly anywhere you're going to hear about this because it's so new. It's like 6-7 months old. Now in some ways, some of us have been kind of doing this ourselves and just programmatically, but most people stumble across it. So today you get a chance to hear about this, and if you've never heard of it before, it's really cool. So what if, normally what we do is like you've seen pop-ups, right? You've seen like landing pages that like force you to do something, and you've seen, the kind of sidebar ads and all these different types of ads, but what if you could actually get people to choose to make a pop-up fly up in their face? So that sounds funny, right? So here's my website. This is answerswanted.com, and I have this web page, or this blog post I should say, called 3 Ways to Revive a Dead Email List, okay? Now, if you go to this page and you scroll down, at the bottom of the page it says, these are the 3 ways to do it, but would you like my templates for free? Do you want my actual text files? The emails that I use to actually restart one 25,000 person dead list that stopped listening to us, another 400,000 person list that we ignored for 4 months and we got it back alive again and got them opening emails again. Like we're talking going from like 4% opens to 29% opens with these 3 emails. I'm like, do you want my text files? Click here and you can just have them. So when you click there on that link, it pops up with this. So there's no opt-ins anywhere on this page, but if you click on that link, this thing pops up and says, where would you like us to send those templates, right? So it's called a content upgrade because you're on this piece of content, and I've already given the actual 3 different ways to do that type of email, but when you click on that, you're getting an upgraded version of the same material, right? So you can only imagine, if you're on a landing page or a blog post or some page where there's already great content, you've already landed the plane on one wonderful thing. But if they click the link, they can have the next best version of that same stuff, right? So why is that powerful? With the old one, nobody actually wanted this stuff, right? And nobody ever asked for it. But the cool part is with this, like industry standard average is about 10% for opt-in rates on a landing page. But with this method, it's actually pretty normal to get 30% opt-in rates. So your same amount of advertising money goes further.